So there's a strange timing in when Kennedy and the Kennedy Foundation paid for airlift to America, which was bringing Kenya students here. They paid for the first 2 flights, the State Department, because we weren't doing that. That wasn't a thing. And it was right before he went into the presidency. And at the same time, around that same, time, Castro was bringing in students through scholarship programs many times to Cuba to train them in psychological and guerrilla warfare so that then they'd go home. And I did a whole video yesterday about it, okay, from those files. This was so coordinated. This is why I don't believe that Kennedy this is the reason why his grandson was so upset with Trump. JFK's grandson recently saying that my grandfather's not here to punch back. Because they know. So while Cuba's got people, and we only know this from the CIA stuff, got people coming from all of Latin America and, everywhere else, training them in guerrilla warfare to be revolutionaries, and many of those people then came into America. You had Kennedy doing, at the same time, this. And here's the thing, it's the 1960s when the Marxist ideas started coming in. Before that, they had things like loyalty oaths. Now, a lot of people would disagree with that, but there was such a thing. Of course, it was Kennedy and Congress who got rid of it. But I'm sure many people today would disagree with it, but it's a fine line. So one of Kennedy's, when he was in Congress, biggest achievements was he sponsored amendments to aid Soviet satellite nations and eliminate loyalty oaths in education funding. So this is what then led to Marxism, socialism, getting all of this in the universities. Yep. A loyalty oath is a formal pledge of allegiance to a government, organization, or a set of principles, often disavowing support for ideologies or groups considered subversive. These oaths were commonly used in the U.S. during periods of heightened concern over national security, such as the Cold War, to ensure that individuals, particularly government employees, educators, and public officials, were not affiliated with communist or disloyal organizations. Yeah, you can understand that now, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. And Kennedy got rid of that. But he was doing this too. Because some of these people went on, we know, I already said how Barack Obama's dad, he ended up coming on the second flight. How convenient. He went to University of Hawaii and then transferred to Harvard. And then Harvard had to get rid of him or something early because of finance. They couldn't keep paying him. They were paying these people. Okay? Like, think of your poor neighborhoods in America. So after the Cold War ended, Marxism shifted focus from revolutionary communism to cultural Marxism and critical theory, where you get your critical race theory. This transition allowed Marxist ideas to integrate into academics, discussion on social justice. Yeah, that's how it's all gone haywire, and now these people are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're in the media. They're in the universities. I don't know what you do about it. It's a problem. You read these documents and realize these people, their whole intention. All of this is just a subtle way. We had so many problems in the 60s. Look at the Weather Underground group, which was Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dohrn, blowing up buildings. I mean, all sorts of crazy shit, okay? And this was part of it. One of these people that went on to be a Nobel Peace winner in Green New Deal stuff. Yes, because they go back to their country, they get in powerful positions that are going to align with the communist agenda. This guy, Michael Franzese, he's a former mafia boss. He has his own channel, books out, all that, okay? He has said for a long time it was a mob hit, okay? He has no reason to not believe that because he was told that by elders that have passed. Why would they lie, is his point. No, I think he's right, okay? And it goes back to the Chicago outfit, okay, which was tied with the CIA. The problem here is that everybody, I mean, and Donald Trump has been trying to tell people this, okay? Which is why he often brought up in rallies, and this was 2018 though, brought up Alfonso Capone. Yeah, looking back on history, who was treated worse? Alfonso Capone, legendary mob boss, killer, and public enemy #1, or Paul Manafort, political operative and Reagan Dole darling, now serving solitary confinement, although convicted of nothing. Where is the Russian collusion? That's the other thing at the heart of all this, is that, you know, they've used this Russia, oh, it's a Russian plant, it's a Russian, you know, operative, and it's like, but Russia was not even a problem. It wasn't until Kennedy just happened to screw things up so royally that it's hard. It's like, no, he was helping Cuba, okay? He was helping Cuba. All he had to do, that's why Eisenhower already had this guerrilla team, or not guerrilla team, but these exiled Cubans were trained and everything under Eisenhower. Eisenhower, you know, passed all this on to Kennedy. He knew what to do, and then Kennedy just decided at the last minute not to provide air support, totally causing everything in America to be hurt. Then decides, oh, we're going to do Operation Mongoose. Does no good to do that because you've already, you know, tipped your hat. And then you caused the Cuban Missile Crisis. But I don't think, that's why I've said the Kennedys weren't on the right side of this. The problem we have is that they're everywhere now. They're everywhere. And now I can even see it easier now, too, who they are. It's why they have a ton of followers. It's why they have a ton of followers. They're going to push the pro-Palestinian narrative, the hate Israel narrative. In fact, Jimmy Dore today, I thought, what a jackass, said, because because what these leftists are going to do, leftists rarely change. I'm not talking about the people. I know there's a lot of Democrats that flipped, and I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about these people that have a lot of followers and politicians. These leftists, no. Because they know what their role is, the subtle revolution, okay? So Jimmy Dore has a lot of followers. He's a comedian. He's been carrying on about the Palestine. And he had the audacity to say, we just need to raise the consciousness of the MAGA supporters to what's actually happening, and then they will oppose, and they'll agree with us. No, Jimmy Dore, no, see, no, I'm not going to agree with you Democrats. You people were never Trump supporters. You're operatives, Jimmy Dore. Yeah, that's what you are. That's what a ton of you podcasters are. That's what a ton of you media are. They're all throughout, they're everywhere. They're operatives. Whitney Webb, operative. A revolutionary operative. And that's why they end up showing, I mean, but think of how shitty that is. You have to raise my consciousness. No, I think I need to raise yours. I've never been a Democrat, so let me enlighten you that maybe you should get off of your revolutionary path of pro-Palestine bullshit, most especially since the pro-Palestinian, or that the Palestinians were being trained by Castro, okay? Trump knows what he's doing. Stay out of it. But these people won't, because it's just like with Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn, who, of course, Bill Ayers was friends with Obama. He helped Obama. He did. Because Obama wasn't born here. But he was a revolutionary, too, totally with Cuba, totally with the communist. I mean, he doesn't hide it. And they were in the universities. They were blowing up buildings, though, in the 60s. Everything went downhill in the 60s. So, you operative Democrats, you need to either raise your consciousness or get the hell out of MAGA's party.